Yep, all good.
All right. Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, my name's Gabriel. I work at the City of Canning, so I'm going to do something a bit different. Normally, I'd stand up here and go through a whole bunch of slides and then, finish up. But I'm going to try something a bit more dangerous and do a bit of a live demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate, some maps. My mouse needs to be plugged in. I'm going to generate some maps of suburbs within Canning. So that's these blue lines. If I turn off my zoning, you can see these blue lines here. That's our suburb boundaries. So I'm going to generate a map of each one of those particular suburbs, a map of each one, and on each map there's going to be two maps side by side, one with the parks and one with our zoning data, and a bit of an overview map down here with a legend and some general information. So I'm going to get started and hope nothing blows up and goes down in flames. So first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start by creating some themes. So if you haven't used themes before in QGIS, you can do that by adding a theme through here. And the way you do that is obviously you've enabled your various layers that you want, and then you go in and you add a theme, and that's saved. So now I've already got a zoning theme in here, and if you click on it, it'll automatically re-show the layers that you had saved to that theme. But I'm going to create now a parks theme as well. So I'm going to disable the zoning and MRS, and I'm going to go to my parks, which I have got in various colors based on land area, and I've also got them labeled based on whether they're an existing park or whether they're a proposed or a future park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable an aerial photo on this as well. And I'm going to go into my style manager because I think the cadastre kind of gets a bit lost in this aerial photo. So I'm going to click on my cadastre, and you'll notice that there's a default style, which is what it's currently using. I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to call it yellow. I might just do it as yellow lines. And with that selected, I will go in here and I will change this to be yellow. So it kind of looks like that. Okay. And now, if I'm reasonably happy with that, I'll save that as a theme as well. So I'll go add theme, parks. Oops, if I can spell it. Cool. Then I want to do an overview map. So I'll disable much of this, and I will just go for the Canning LGA boundary and then the suburbs. I don't want the labels to show up in my overview map. I actually just want to have like a little bit of a red outline of the suburb itself. So again, I'll go into my style, I'll go overview to create a new style for that. Go back in here and change this to be a red, where is it? Something like that, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'll show you why I'm duplicating this later afterwards. And I'm going to change this to be a new style, and I'm going to call this black for black lines. And if I go in here, and I'll change this to be transparent with some black lines, we should end up with basically that. And I'm going to turn off the labels here. And I'm going to do the same for this one. And go, oops. No, that's, all right, cool. So we've got that sort of saved. And now we can add that as a theme, and we'll call it overview. You can call it what you want. So now if we've got all that, we can come over to our map layout, and you'll see that everything is now changed to red, which is great. But we can go into our zoning map, and we can go follow map theme and change it to zoning, and go over here and tell it to follow the parks, and we'll go over here and tell this one to follow the overview, and we end up with that. Right. Now from here, what we want to do is we want to go and create an atlas of the suburbs. So we're going to go to our atlas settings. We're going to generate an atlas, And I'm going to pick my suburbs. Suburbs, good. And the page name is going to be the name column in the suburbs, so that's the name of each suburb. And once we're happy with that, I'm going to select each of these maps and I'm going to tell it to be controlled by Atlas. Okay. And same with this one, and same with that one. And now we generate our Atlas. Okay, so now we have that. And one thing you'll notice is that I've got certain data already kind of clipped on these. So if you have a look at, there's a setting up here to clip things to the Atlas feature. So if I clip, say, the roads, it'll clip the roads. If I clip the suburbs, it'll clip the suburbs. If I disable that, then they don't show up either. And it's the same for all of these ones. But if I go down into my overview map and I enable clipping, we end up with something like that. And so as we go through it, you can see that each suburb sort of shows up red, but we have the other suburbs showing up just a white with a bit of a black outline, right? So it's very, very nice way to create quick maps and you know, have them look nice. The other thing you'll notice is there's a legend here, and we can enable it to only show what's in the current atlas. But you will notice that it doesn't actually show our zoning information. And so the reason for that is that it actually needs, you need to enable this and you need to tell it to link to other maps, because by default the legend will pick one map to link to. If you've got QGIS 332 onwards, you can link to multiple maps. So you can go in here and link to the zoning and the parks map, or as many other maps as you want. And then they'll show up in your legend. Okay, so that's cool. Now, if we zoom in a bit, we'll see that generally speaking, the boundary can get a bit lost in this aerial. So I guess the way to get around that sometimes is to kind of just make a really big, thick line, and that's not always the best way to do it. But I'm going to show you a different way. So if we go in here, and I'll go to our parks theme. And I'm going to make a copy of my aerial. Where's duplicate? And then I'm going to enable this layer copy underneath. I'm going to go and make it 50% opaque. And then you have to remember to update your theme. So if you replace your parks theme, in this case, yes, I'm sure, and we go back to our map, and we go across. Hopefully this doesn't crash. Please don't. Please. No! I probably should have regenerated the atlas then. All right, give it a sec. Sorry.
That's okay.
Cue the elevator music. Come on. Does anyone have any questions so far while that's loading back up? Yep.
I've been wanting to put data tables in map
Yes.
atlases.
Yep.
Have you found a way to
Like an
just
attribute
put
table?
The attribute table relating to, say, the suburb that you do?
Yes. Yes, you can do that. And I will show you that. You can also do some of the styling to come across, and I'll show you how to do that as well. All right, so let's give this another go. Now, where were we? We were back at our parks. Oh, it doesn't save that. Okay. Let's go to that one and kill these ones and enable that one. And we'll duplicate that.
See how fast you can do it.
Yeah. Speed run. Okay.
One-handed speed run.
I know. So add that.
You don't get paid by the hour.
Yeah. Parks. Okay, cool. So if we go back in here, layouts, and we enable out notice suburbs, and enable that. All right. And we need to parks and zoning. All right, cool. So we've got. That doesn't look right. show up everything? Oh, hang on.
I need to drop the full.
No, there we go. All right, it's good. Okay, so now what we've got with this map here is we've got our aerial photo, and we can go in and clip the aerial but leave the copy underneath, and so we get that sort of effect, right? So you kind of pop out the polygon that you want, but then you kind of opaque everything else around it. And what that does is it still gives you that context around your map, but you can kind of see the boundary of what you're looking at a lot more easily. So that's another little tip to do, and I need to come back to this one. I'm not going to recreate this overview because that's going to take a little while, but the other thing you can do with these is, let's suppose we wanted to make it a bit fancier. We can come over here and draw a circle over it, like so. And maybe we'll make this, where are we, margin. But let's say we wanted to make this like a circular map. We can do that as well by clipping to item and select our ellipse. And now we can have a circular map, or a triangular map, or whatever other map you want. Now, you had a question about the attribute table. So you can insert an attribute table. So I'm just going to put it in here. I mean, it's not nice, but if we pick our parks layer, you'll notice that we've got some information in here about each park, and you can select only what's within the intersecting atlas feature. So if we go in here and we have a look at this map, we should see 129, 133 will be in here somewhere. I haven't put them in any particular order. The other thing is, though, is that you can actually, if you do conditional formatting in your attribute table, you can actually go down and apply the conditional formatting to them. So as you're flicking across, let's see if we can find a suburb. East Kennington's a good one. So you see how I've styled these parks, that some of them are red, are not existing yet, whereas the yellow ones are. Now you can show that in your attribute table, and it's kind of a faster way for people to find the information that they want. You know, people tend to find stuff by color faster than they will by text, so it's a good way to do it. So that's another way you can do it. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yes. Oh, so there's one more thing. I'll just delete that, and I will go to Willerton. Okay. See how we got this Riverton is just kind of popping into the map just slightly, and you might get that where you get like the corner of a feature just kind of enters your map, and you're like, oh, it's got this label that kind of sticks in there. It's not very nice. You can go into this label feature up here, and you can tell QGIS how many centimeters or millimeters you want it to not have labels within the boundary of your map, right? So here I've said 10 millimeters. Any labels that fall within that 10 millimeters don't show them, and they just won't show up. So if I make this, 50, a whole bunch of labels will probably disappear, and I've got a hole just in the middle of the map, right? And so that just gives you a bit of extra control there where you generate that stuff. And last thing is the title. So let's say we wanted to come in here and parks in, and then we wanted the suburb name. We can go to dynamic text. Now, because we've linked the atlas to the suburb layer, and it's got a name field with the name of each suburb, we can pick that field, and it will now show you the name of each suburb as we flick through them, and it'll auto change, right? The other thing you can do is, let's suppose you have all these polygons. Let's suppose Canning Vale, right? It's a really big suburb. It doesn't fit very nicely in this map. All the features are quite small. You might want to filter them. And I've already created a field in the data, which I have called Atlas Map. And I've basically given each polygon a number, like 1, 2, or 3. 1 being is the one I actually want to have in this map, but I might want to have multiple maps that I create. So some might be in map series 2, some might be in map series 3. So if I go equals 1 and go OK, and I regenerate my atlas, and now Canning Vale disappears. Okay. You can also go by sort by, so you have things in there that you can do. Other than that, I think that's mostly it. So, any other questions or any comments?
Questions for Gabriel?
Sorry, it's not about what you presented, but I need someone who knows how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm struggling with that, with
Yes.
some maps. When you add an item and the scale,
Yes.
and I enter like my scale like 10,000,
Yes.
but the text was 10,000.0000001.
Ah,
Is
okay.
there a way to round that?
Yeah, if you make it an integer field, it'll obviously just have it as a whole number. But if it's decimal field, I think when you create the field, you can specify how many decimal points you want in the data. So you can specify like 2 or 3.
So how do you specify the scale?
Oh, in terms of each of these maps? So by default, in the Atlas settings, you've got a few options.
Yeah.
One is there's a margin around the map. You can specify a percentage. But if you've got just scale set down as like a numeric scale, it'll be like 1,385 point something. So it'll look really weird. You can go a predefined scale, which is like a best fit. So QGIS will kind of pick a nearest sort of rounded number that kind of seems reasonable. Or you can go a fixed scale. Now, if I go a fixed scale on this, and I come up here, and I change the scale to be data-driven, so there's the data-driven overrides. If I go in here and I've got an Atlas scale field in here, and I tell it to go to that, you'll see that, this one's 10,063, and when I change it to that same field, you're going to see that they're all nicely rounded because that's what I've put in the data, right? So they're all like a best fit at a rounded off scale. So if I go into my data here, and you'll see that there's an Atlas scale field in here, and that's what it's picking up. Okay. So if you want real control over the scale of each of the maps, this is the best way to do it. Just use the data-driven overrides. Okay. It gets a little bit fiddly, especially if you've got like 50 maps and you're going to have to manually put in the best values. But if you just want it exactly right, then yeah, that's probably the best way.
The other thing is if you're using the dynamic text option to build the scale, you just use a round command.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can round things as well. Yeah.
Rounds it off so that
Yep. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know the city of Canning and you are like big supporters of the QGIS project, and I bet that some of the functionality you just showed us was supported by the city of
Some of
Canning.
it, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Anything in particular there? That
The Atlas clipping feature. So all of this stuff in here was all sponsored by us. The legend linking to multiple maps was also from us, and the conditional formatting in the attribute table, that was us as well.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
All right.